right, everybody, welcome into another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about each of our top 20 fantasy football wide receiver rankings, and we're going to be talking about 20 to 11 today. How are you guys?
Doing good. I'm excited. We got Shane back and we're getting back into the fantasy talk. So it's always exciting.
Yeah, feels good to be back. I'm excited to talk about receivers. Haven't done that yet. And there's a lot of them. So I'm sure we're going to have a wide variety in our 20 to 11 range.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
a lot of receivers, and there's going to be a lot of different ones we'll talk about, so we'll get right into it. I did want to talk a little bit about DeAndre Hopkins. I think that some of us will have him in our rankings. How is his situation kind of being affected right now in fantasy?
Personally, just the player he is, I don't really, no matter where he goes, he's going to be a top 20. He's going to finish as a top 20 fantasy wide receiver. And then depending on where he goes, he could be top 12. Sure, he's maybe getting a little older, but he's still a great wide receiver. And I feel like no matter where he goes, he'll be top 20. That's my thought about him.
I agree. I think he's an absolute stud. I have him just really low on my list because of I don't know his situation. Obviously, if he goes to the right team, I think he'll be awesome. I think he'll produce in any system, but I'd like to see him in a true wide receiver one role.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about Hawkins just because I have no idea what situation he's going to be going into. So I'm not going to have him in my top 20. He's my number 21 receiver right now. So he's just right there. I guess you could say he's my honorable mention, but we'll get into
Wow.
my number 20, and that is Amari Cooper. He's being drafted as a wide receiver 18, so I guess you could say I'm a little bit lower on him. There's just some other receivers I'm higher on, but Amari Cooper I actually really like. Like he was really solid or I guess at the beginning of the year last year, and it kind of wavered down. But I think with Deshaun Watson coming in and having a full offseason together, I think they'll have a pretty good connection. I think the Browns will take a big step up. So I like Amari Cooper this year as their wide receiver one.
Yeah, I really like Amari Cooper. I always think he's just such a stud. He's a guy that can get you a touchdown and can also catch multiple passes every week. I think he just barely missed my top 20. Just because
Wow.
I know I really like him. He's 21 for me, if that makes you anything. He just barely missed it because the guy we just talked about, DeAndre Hopkins, is my number 20. So it just barely pushed Amari Cooper off. He's just a little inconsistent, and the Browns' offense does scare me a little bit. I think he's kind of. There's 20 other receivers I feel safer about that have safer floors. I think he's got a higher ceiling than some of these guys on my top 20, but his floor is just a little too low for me to be in my top 20. But D Hop, like Shane said, we think he can produce in any system. I mean, he makes bad quarterbacks look good. He catches everything. He's a touchdown machine. He's a reception machine. So given the right system, he could be top 15 for me. But 20 is safe because we don't know where he's at right now.
That's fair. It's definitely hard to rank someone when they're currently a free agent, but the skill level that DeAndre Hopkins has, it's hard to not put him in my top 20. So my 20 guy, I have Michael Pittman at 20. He had a down year last year, but there's just no one else really in that offense. Paris Campbell's gone. He's gonna demand targets. The concern is obviously he has a rookie quarterback, but truly how worse could Richardson be from Ryan and Wentz? They were terrible. So if he's as bad as them, okay. I mean, Michael Pittman maybe he's wide receiver 24. But who knows? Richardson could come out and have a great rookie year.
Yeah, it's pretty high. That's interesting, but I like it. I think Anthony Richardson's going to have a really good rookie year, so I like that. And they lost Paris Campbell, I believe. So yeah, I like that. I'm not too scared of Alec Pierce taking too much targets. I think Michael Pittman will be their guy, and I think their offense is going to score a lot more this year.
Yeah.
I think that's super rich for Michael Pittman. Having him in your top 20, but you never know. I mean, if it was last year this time, absolutely. But this year, after we saw what he did last year, he didn't produce very well.
Yeah.
Kind of a disappointment. We kind of thought he was going to be a top 10 receiver. He had that kind of upside, but he really let everyone down last year. But I do like Michael Pittman. It's going to be interesting. I would like to see Anthony Richardson lean on him heavily, being a rookie. But you never know. It could go either way. But yeah, 20 was a little rich for me. He didn't make my top 20.
All right, we'll get into my number 19, which is pretty high for this guy. He's being drafted as a wide receiver 23, but I absolutely love him, and that's Jerry Jeudy for the Denver Broncos. I think he's going to be that number one in that Sean Payton offense this year, and it's going to be much improved. And I think Russ is going to look at him a lot because at the end of the year last year, they built a really great rapport, and I mean, they looked really good together, and they had a good connection. And I think Russ will be a little bit better with Sean Payton coming in, and I think Jerry Judy's upside is really high. So the wide receiver 23 is just ridiculous to me. So I like him here at 19.
Stores, why are you laughing so hard?
Oh, I thought that was funny. Wasn't he like wide receiver 48 last year? I love the trust. You know, you gotta go after your dude, and you gotta rank him high, especially when you're a Broncos dude. So I respect. I think Jerry Jeudy has the talent, but and I mean, yeah, he's in a Sean Payton offense, so I could definitely see, you know, I could definitely see a big upgrade for him this year. But top
He was the
20,
wide receiver 22 last year, and he missed a few games. So he's definitely a top 20 receiver still.
was he 22? I don't know. That was, so
He was really good last year. He averaged
How many
I guess it
games?
won't show me, but he averaged like over 10 points.
I swear I had him. He's like wide receiver 48 through like the first like 8 weeks, but then I like just dropped him and got rid of him. And
He was so good at the end of the year, though. But yeah,
How many games did he play last year?
he played 16, so he missed 2.
Why do they think he missed a lot more than that?
yeah, it kind of did like
Sucked.
10 games.
Oh yeah, he
I
just
I
missed
thought
2.
he didn't play. Maybe because Russell Wilson was just terrible.
No, but yeah,
Yeah.
he started out as the wide receiver 2, and Sutton was the main guy. That's why he kind of started out slow. But at the end of the year, he just took over as the 1, and he ended up as the wide receiver 22, and he's being drafted as a wide receiver 23. So I think he's being drafted too late now.
I respect it. I just gotta have Russell Wilson prove it to me that he can still feed these guys at a high level. But with that, I'll get into my number 19, which is gonna be Mr. Calvin Ridley. I'm pretty high on him. I think his skill set
you?
really complements
I
what?
think you're low on him.
Okay, maybe I'm low. I don't know. I feel like he could go either way. I feel like he could be a boomer bust. He hasn't played in a year.
He's truly impossible to rank because he's on a new team and he hasn't played football. Obviously, he didn't play last year. He didn't play the year before. Remember, he had the mental health stuff. He
Oh
hasn't
yeah.
played football in 2 seasons, so he's truly impossible to rank.
And he's
I
being
thought-
drafted as a wide receiver 17. So you're
I
definitely
don't
not
have him in my top 20. I just didn't know what to do with him.
Yeah, I wanted to put him on there because when he does play, he's so good.
Yeah.
And he's a yak guy. He's a I don't know. He's just that over the middle receiver that gets yards and he can score and he can get deep. And I feel like his skill set, if he's still playing at the level he was when we last saw him, really complements Trevor Lawrence. And I would just that's one of the things I'm most excited to see is Trevor Lawrence thrown to Calvin Ridley because I'm ultra excited about that. I couldn't put him any higher just because it is so up in the air. But I feel like he could have top 10 potential. He's telling everyone he's gonna be a 1,400-yard receiver. So we'll see. He's talking cocky. He's kind of giving me remnants of Antonio Brown vibes right now. He's gonna all of a sudden go off the deep end, but we'll see.
I think he's going to be really good as a Jaguars wide receiver 1. I think he complements, like you said, Trevor well, but I think he also complements like Zay Jones and Calvin or Christian Kirk really well. And I just think that receiving core is going to round out really good. And I just think that Calvin Ridley is going to be great this year. He has the upside to be a wide receiver 1 in fantasy, I think, and I have a little bit higher.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't like Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk sort of the same type of wide receiver?
Kind of. Ridley will play on the outside a little bit more. Kirk will play on the slot a little bit more, especially since they're playing together now. But they are built similarly for sure.
And Lawrence, he already has that rapport and that connection with Kirk. So that's why I feel like Kirk could be the number 1 guy, and then Calvin Ridley behind him. He already has that connection with Lawrence. So it's just hard. It's hard with Ridley right now.
100%.
Let's hear your 19.
My 19 is Amari Cooper. We already talked about him with Danny at 20. He proved he's only 28, which is not that old for wide receivers, even though he seems like he's like 34. To me, I don't know why. But he proved he's an elite wide receiver. He could be a high-end wide receiver 2, maybe even be a low-end wide receiver 1. It's just honestly all up to Deshaun Watson. I think it's all whatever Deshaun Watson can do is how Amari Cooper will turn out. Because I mean, Jacoby Brissett's not a good quarterback, but look how great Amari Cooper was with Jacoby Brissett.
Preach. I agree. You said it all. So Dan,
Amari Cooper finished as the wide receiver 10 last year, which is so crazy to me looking back because he had some rough weeks too.
He did.
Josh
I think the
Donaldson.
Browns are going to be much improved, so I like him a lot.
Who's Josh Donaldson?
Oh, oops. All right, number 18 is going to be Calvin Ridley, someone we talked about. I just think that he's going to be so good for Trevor Lawrence, and I think that Doug Peterson's going to feed Calvin Ridley, and I think he can be a wide receiver 1 in fantasy like he was a few years ago. He's that type of player. He's dynamic. He's a great route runner, one of the best. And the Jags have the number 1 easiest strength of schedule for receivers this year. So I like targeting the Jaguars receivers, especially Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I agree. Don't sleep on Josh Donaldson though. Could be wide receiver 1.
But yeah, Calvin Ridley's being drafted as the wide receiver 17 ADP. So yeah, I like having him here.
Yeah, I agree. We have him right in a similar spot, and he's got tremendous upside. It's interesting. I can't really predict his floor right now, but I feel like no matter what, Trevor's going to be throwing the ball 30, 40 times a game. So I feel like he's got a pretty safe floor.
To your 18.
My 18 is going to be Mr. Mike Williams. That's my big dude, 50-50 ball guy. But he's such a weird fantasy player every year. You never know what you're getting out of Mike Williams. Like last year, or was it last year that he was like top 2 at the beginning of the year? Was that 2 years ago?
Yeah, that was last year. He was
Okay.
great at the beginning of the year. Maybe even both years.
Yeah, it was like both years. He starts out, he goes on these streaks. Like he'll go on 150-yard games, 2-3 touchdowns, and then he'll get 2 catches for 18 yards. So he's so hit or miss, but I like the upside with him. I think he's going to be a little healthier this year. I like the rotation the Chargers have. So I feel like they don't have to force feed Mike Williams and Keenan Allen so much. And Mike Williams is just too good. He's too tall. He's too strong to not be on my top 20 because he's going to put up, even with a stacked Chargers offense, I think he'll still put up close to 1,000 yards and possibly 8+ touchdowns. So, but he's always super productive when he's on the field. But it's kind of weird. He goes in like streaks of really big games, really small games, but he's got such a high ceiling that I want all the stock of Mike Williams, especially in the top 20.
Yeah, I had Mike Williams a lot last year, and he was super inconsistent. But the weeks that he did hit, he was game winning for you. So I really like Mike Williams. I have him and Keenan Allen both right outside of my top 20. They're my number 22 and 23 because of I think Quentin Johnson's going to have a bigger role than people would think. I like Quentin Johnson a lot, and I just think that Herbert's going to like him. So I think Williams could be phased out a little bit. So I have them right outside of my top 20, but I like Mike Williams a lot, and his boom weeks are going to boom with Herbert.
That's crazy. You have Keenan Allen out of your top 20. That is crazy. I don't understand that, but that's crazy.
I don't have Mike Williams in my top 20. I do.
I get that. I get not having Mike Williams. I think he's such a boomer bust kind of guy. So I get not putting him. But Keenan Allen, he is just a reception machine. The dude's gonna have 100+ receptions every year.
He's also a tweaked hammy out for 11 weeks machine too.
I mean, he's the wide receiver 21 right now for ADP, so that's like right where I have him.
What did he finish last year, even missing 10 weeks?
Mike Williams finishes the 32, and Keenan finished as the 42. So that's 42. You got Judy and Keenan mixed up. Keenan was 42.
Wow.
Judy was 22.
Are you really taking Jerry Jeudy over Keenan Allen?
Oh, 100%. Any league I can, 100%. I mean, he's going over him, or I guess they're going right next to each other, but
that's crazy.
I definitely take Judy for the upside, and I think he's going to be the wide receiver 1, and I think that Mike Williams.
Unbiased Shane, come in here and
oh yeah, I could be biased, but I just think that Judy's higher upside this year.
My argument is I'd rather have. What you're saying, you'd rather have Jerry Jeudy over Keenan or over Mike Williams?
Yeah, over Keenan and Mike Williams. Yeah,
it goes back to the quarterback for me, and with you got Justin Herbert there. I'd much rather have my wide receiver getting balls from Justin Herbert than Mr. Russell Wilson.
Yeah, after watching the end of last year and seeing Judy like take over games and like getting multiple touchdowns in games, I think his upside is going to be really good this year. I think it could be wide receiver 1.
All right.
We'll go into my number 17 receiver, who's
no, it's fine. I won't give my 18.
Oh yeah,
Josh Donaldson.
I did it again.
Josh Donaldson, that was insane.
I messed up.
Who's Josh Donaldson?
I don't know. It just autocorrects it every time I write Josh for some reason. But all right, who's your 18?
My 18, I have Debo Samuel at 18.
Okay.
he's weird. You know, I'd say my biggest concern with Debo is just simply all the weapons that are in the 49ers offense. And he 2 years ago, I think he was wide receiver 2. Last year, where did he finish at? Do you have those pulled up, Dan? He was not wide receiver 2, that's for sure.
Not at all.
I mean, you have Christian McCaffrey playing the role.
37.
Yeah, you have Christian McCaffrey playing the role that Debo would play. That would make him such a fantasy superstar. Debo's not really going to be doing that anymore. He's still a great wide receiver. He's just not going to be getting the work that he was 2 years ago. That when he finished as wide receiver 2. That's why I have him at 18.
Yeah,
For sure.
I think that's fair. Debo Samuel, it's kind of hard to predict him. Like he was such a stud, and I think he was going like top 20 in fantasy drafts last year or the year before. I can't even remember. I get the years mixed up. But he was such a stud. Yeah, playing obviously that hybrid role where he's taking handoffs. I mean, he was the best running back on their team 2 years ago, and that was such a fun offense when he was kind of all over the field. But he kind of wanted to be phased out of that role. I know he kind of asked to be phased out of that running back role. So yeah, Christian McCaffrey is going to be the beneficiary of that. But yeah, I still have Debo a little bit higher. I think he still has some good upside, and I think he'll build a better rapport, with Brock Purdy, and I think he'll start targeting him a lot more.
He could.
I got Debo a little higher, but I don't mind you having him there. I'm lower on him too, and I think that Ayuk is going to kind of emerge a little bit and maybe kind of split with Debo. So I don't love Debo too much, and that offense has so much pieces to feed. Like Christian McCaffrey will do a lot of what made Debo valuable a few years ago in fantasy, like you said. So yeah, I like you having him low.
Other than Christian McCaffrey, I don't know if I necessarily want any 49ers just because, I mean, there's such a great offense with so many great weapons. There's so many targets being spread all across the board. I feel like you're going to see some boomer bust weeks out of all those weapons. And it's going to be impossible to pick, who's going to be the boom guy other than, I guess, the McCaffrey.
I probably would much rather have Ayuk at his ADP or Kittle. I'd rather.
I really like Ayuk this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ayuk did really good at the end of the year last year. It was Purdy. He was he was really good. He's
They were going to him a lot.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get into my number 17 receiver, who I'm actually a little bit higher on as well, and that's Christian Watson. I had him last year, and it was so fun. I mean, he's just an electric player, electric receiver, and his ADP is 19, so I'm definitely high on him. But he is being drafted pretty high because of his season last year. But he has Jordan Love thrown to him, so it's a big question mark after Aaron Rodgers left. But I think that Christian Watson's just so electric. We saw it in Jordan Love's one start against the Eagles. He just threw a slant to Watson, and he took it 80 yards for a touchdown. So that's just what he does, and I think he'll do it like every other week. And I think he'll probably finish higher than wide receiver 17. So I think I'll take him right here.
The wide receivers, these are fun because there's truly so many great wide receivers in the NFL and great for fantasy. Any of these guys we're naming could finish top 20. They could finish top 12. They could finish 44.
Top 40.
Yeah. It's like you just don't know. It's all over the place. I don't have Christian Watson in my top 20, but I think there's a very, very high chance he finishes as a top 15 wide receiver. It's crazy how many great wide receivers there are.
Yeah, wide receivers are out of control, as you can tell by all the variants on our list. But let's get into Josh's number 18.
Yeah, so my number
17
is going to be Mr. Scary Terry McLaurin. He's kind of another guy. It is, the wide receivers are hard to judge. They're really hard to judge in the NFL, and who's going to do good and who's going to have a good year and who's going to have a bad year. I feel like the top 10 is always pretty solid, but when you get to that 11 through 30 range, it's all kind of dart throws, honestly. But Terry McLaurin, I mean, he's just such a good wide receiver, and if they can just figure out, and they were doing a good job of that at the end of the season. He didn't start off very hot, but he finished strong, and I think they realized that they got to keep feeding Terry McLaurin. And he's a guy, he can be 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns if they just make him the focal receiver in that offense. And they do have some other good receivers that will definitely take targets, John Dotson. But Terry McLaurin gets me excited this year. What's his ADP, Dan?
Let me look at that first.
I feel like I have him kind of where he should be, but I wonder what he's being drafted at.
I like Terry McLaurin. My biggest concern with him is quarterback. I mean, Sam Howell. It seems like Sam
That's-
Howell's their guy. That's a little bit of a concern. But I mean, he looked fine he was a rookie last year. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well,
He
no,
looked
Terry
fine.
McLaurin, he's been in
No.
the NFL for 4
No, no,
years.
no, no, no.
Dotson was a rookie.
Oh,
Dotson.
oh,
no.
Dotson.
And
No,
Sam
I'm
Howell.
talking-
And Sam
I'm
Howell.
talking about Sam Howell. I'm talking about
Yeah,
Sam Howell.
yeah.
Oh,
He was
yeah,
a
yeah,
rookie last year.
yeah.
He looked fine, I think, if I can remember correctly, in the games he played. But it's still a question mark. He was like a 5th round draft pick, I believe. No, 4th round draft pick.
It might surprise you, Josh, but McLaurin's actually being drafted as a wide receiver 27 right now in PPR.
Oh, wow. I mean, he's had questionable quarterback play his entire career.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's had 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons with 70+ catches in each one of them. I mean, he's not a high touchdown guy, but he's 1,000 yards. I mean, his last 3 seasons, 1,100 yards, 1,050, 1,200 yards, and then 87 receptions, 77, 77, and then 5,
I mean,
4 touchdowns.
he finished
So,
as the wide receiver 14 last year, and looking at his stats, he was super consistent. So, like, I get what you're saying. You're drafting him before his ADP 100%, and that's what anyone should do. Any smart person needs to draft Terry way before ADP because he's a steal right now.
and I honestly think Sam Howell is going to, I mean, because, the guys who are starting their first years always seem to rely on one guy heavily. They find their guy, and I think that's going to be Terry all day long. And I think Sam Howell's going to target the heck out of him. And I want him, especially at that ADP of 27. That's insane. I'd probably feel comfortable taking him top 15, honestly.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Get him as your slot, or I mean your flex, and then or even wide receiver 2 if you go running back heavy. I love that. You're talking me into Terry's stock right now.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
Okay. My 17 guy is Keenan. Keenan Allen at 17. We've talked about him a little bit already. I mean, he's tough. He's still a great wide receiver. He's gonna get the targets, but
This is very injury.
yeah, you don't want to rank or decide your pick, I guess, based off injury. But Keenan Allen, he truly is just a legitimate injury prone player. So it's scary because he's gonna miss at least a couple of weeks. And he's injury prone until he's not. So as of right now, he's a pretty big injury prone player. But he's got a great quarterback throwing to him on a great offense with Kellen Moore with the new offensive coordinator. So I don't know. I like Keenan. I just need him to stay healthy.
100%. And why I have Keenan Allen a lot higher than you guys, of course. But every game, I mean, and I watch every single Chargers game, so I'm obviously going to have a lot of bias. I'm a big Chargers fan. But Keenan Allen, every time he plays, he's Herbert's safety blanket. I mean, he's targeting him 10+ times a game, and he's getting 10+ catches when he's healthy. And that's the thing. I mean, missing how many games did we decide he missed last year?
12.
I'll look right now.
Because I mean,
he got hurt week 1, and then it's like week 11 he came back for a quarter or something crazy like that, and then went back out.
I mean, he still had 800 yards and 4
He missed
touchdowns.
7 games.
Okay, so
That
yeah,
can't be
800 yards with 66 receptions and 4 touchdowns with missing 7 games. I mean, he's averaging averaging 11.4 targets a game. Give me that. And he's Herbert's safety blanket. But like Shane said, it's just bearing injury. I think he's a top 10 fantasy wide receiver if he stays healthy for a full season, but he's got to stay healthy for a full season.
Do you think Keenan will be their touchdown leader? I feel like Herbert always looks to Keenan in the red zone, but
no, Eckler will be the touchdown leader again. And then I think, honestly, I could see, like you said, Quentin Johnston being a touchdown guy. I could see him scoring a lot. It's kind of all over. Everyone was kind of all over the field last year. I mean, Eckler scored like 20 touchdowns, and then I think like Mike had like 8, and then it's kind of Gerald Everett had like 6, and it's kind of just spread out pretty evenly. But I don't think Keenan's a big touchdown guy. I just like him for his PPR potential. So just all the receptions he gets, which pretty much is like a touchdown every game because he's getting 6+ easily. So I see him getting almost 10 receptions a game.
yeah, Herbert loves firing in those bullet throws to Keenan, on the 10-yard intermediate third downs. He loves throwing to Keenan. So
he's a safety blanket. So that's why I feel comfortable having Keenan higher. But I respect you guys having him lower just because of injury.
You respect Danny having him outside of his top 20?
No, I don't respect that. I mean, I respect you having him at 17. Danny can get lost with that take.
dude, I'll be honest, I'm still just thinking about Terry McLaurin. You've got me a little bit shook. I didn't realize how consistent he was, and how
He's a
solid he
dog.
was last year. Like I'm making him a my guy for sure. I want to target him in fantasy this year.
Yeah,
And
3 straight 1,000-yard seasons in a row. That's impressive with questionable quarterback play every year.
well, and don't forget, he's got a new. We assume he's a great offensive coordinator. He's had Patrick Mahomes, so he looks great, but he's a good offensive coordinator. So that's going to help him too.
Yeah, the enemy better feed him.
Yep.
All right, we'll get into my 16, someone we've talked about already, and that's Deebo Samuel. He is actually the wide receiver 16 right now in ADP, so I'm just right there. And I don't love him. Like I said earlier, I probably will try to just pass on him and wait for a later round receiver. I don't think Deebo will be a main target with CMC being the number one option, and then Ayuk and Kittle kind of catching up to Deebo in targets.
And Juwan Jennings, he's a big part of their offense too.
Purdy liked him a lot. It
Yeah.
looked like, yeah. So yeah, I just don't know. When Purdy was playing, it didn't look like it was a Deebo Samuel offense. It was more focused on Ayuk and McCaffrey. So I'm lower on Deebo, and I don't think I'll really be drafting him.
You guys are kind of talking me out of Deebo. Dan, I also have him at 16. But now I feel like I wanted to have him lower.
I will only draft Debo if he's there, like well past his ADP and just a steal. I don't want nothing to do with him. I don't. And it seems like we're all on the same page with it too, which is weird.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I want him lower, but I have him at 16 as well as Dan. And yeah, all your points are just scaring me away from him right now. And yeah, I don't know. I thought he might be a little bit better if he gets a full offseason and everything with Purdy, but Purdy's hurt right now. Is he even at OTAs?
He's like hardly doing a little. He's doing a little bit of throwing.
Okay.
He's not going to be at OTAs. He'll probably be at training camp, maybe, but yeah, he's not.
Okay.
So he'll probably have Sam Darnold week 1.
Okay.
Yeah. Terrible, but still.
I don't know. Now I'm getting scared on him. He's turned into not my guy, and especially I feel like I could switch him with a couple people in my rankings. Kind of want to drop him down, but he's just such a good athlete and he's so good at football that I want to have him high. But yeah, you guys have definitely scared me away from him now.
Yeah, like you said, he is so good. I hope that they feed him more because they should, for sure.
Oh, 100%.
He was really good in fantasy, and they fed him a lot. He was electric.
Mm-hmm.
My 16 guy, we talked about him at the top of the show. It's DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe I'm a little biased because I had him last year in fantasy, and I felt like even with Colt McCoy as his quarterback, he was.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome, Keenan. Even with McCoy as his quarterback, he was 20 points a game. If he can do that with Colt McCoy still on a very bad offense, that's what makes me feel like I don't care where he goes. I want him, and he's going to be a top 20 guy.
Yeah, I agree. I really love DeAndre Hopkins, but question: who won our trade? Was it Keenan for? I can't remember. It was Keenan for DeAndre straight up, right? And
no, it wasn't straight up. Wasn't Zeke. I got Zeke out of it.
No, you gave me Zeke. I had Zeke at the end of the year. It was Keenan and Zeke for DeAndre. Okay, I won.
I got something else out of it then.
DeAndre Hopkins was good at the end of the year.
He was really good, and then it was right as we traded. Keenan
came back.
No, he got hurt again. Remember, it was like the quarter.
He did.
And then I had to wait.
No, right when I traded you Zeke, he started playing really well.
Yeah, both of them played well, though. Down the stretch, that's what won me the season.
Remember, Zeke had a touchdown every game like the last 12 weeks, and no one talked about it.
Yeah, and now he's still not on a team. It's funny.
Yeah.
We'll see, but yeah, he did. He scored 1 to 2 touchdowns every single week for like the last 7 weeks, and no one even
literally every week.
Yeah, that was crazy. All right, Dan. But who's your number 15?
15 is someone that I, similarly to Deebo, I don't know if I'll be taking him, and I have him. It's DK Metcalf. He's also being drafted as a wide receiver 15, so I have him right on ADP too. I don't love DK. I think this is fine value. I just don't think I'll be taking him here. I think I'd rather have these later round receivers. Like I said, I love a lot of them, but I don't know. I see DK going earlier than wide receiver 15 a lot, and I just think that with Jackson Smith and Jigba coming in with their offense kind of getting figured out at the end of the year last year, I don't really love DK, even though he was good last year.
Yeah,
I'll be talking about DK a little bit later.
Yeah, I really like DK Metcalf. I'll be talking about him a little bit later too. I mean, he still puts up numbers every single year. I mean, he's still pretty much a 3 straight 1,000-yard plus season guy. And then the 2 years prior to last year, he was 10 plus touchdowns, so he's 12 and 10. But he's an absolute stud. I think he'll still produce in that offense, even though it's a pretty crowded offense. But yeah, I'll be talking about him here in a minute. But with my number 15, it's gonna be Mr. Mike Evans.
Whoa.
Uh,
Huh?
Uh,
I what
Wait,
do you think I'm low or high on him?
high. Very high.
Stores, this is 2023. This is not 2021.
Bro, I mean this guy has had more thousand, dude. What year of 1,000+ yard season are we going on to?
10.
Is it 10 straight seasons of
I
1,000?
think he's had 9 straight.
Okay, until he declines, he's still top 15 for me. And I mean, dude, he's 77. I mean, 77 receptions last year, 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns. I know his touchdowns numbers dropped off. From
Okay,
the
wait,
previous
pause.
years,
That
but-
was massively fluffed by his 200-yard last I think it was fantasy football championship weekend. He had 200 yards and like 2 touchdowns.
That's still
He was
1,100
phenomenal.
yards. That's still
He-
1,100 yards.
It was that his stats are massively fluffed by that championship weekend game.
Yes, but I also think Baker Mayfield's going to heavily target him.
Yeah,
I think
Baker
that's gonna
Mayfield's
be his
also
dude.
buns.
He is buns, and that's why I honestly thought I was low. I thought you guys might have him a little bit higher. So you guys
That's
don't
great.
even.
Wait. Pause. Do you have Chris Godwin ranked higher than Mike Evans?
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like Baker's gonna like Godwin even more than
I
Evans.
think Mike Evans is more consistent and a better receiver, even at his age 30 or whatever he's at. I'm
what?
Yeah, I gotta tell you, Mike Evans' ADP right now.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
number
yeah.
30 in PPR,
good. Give me
and it's number 30 in standard.
He'll be on my team. He's my guy. He's
Wow.
gonna produce. Baker's gonna throw him touchdowns. Just watch.
You do realize
You know
they
what?
very well
Record this right now and talk to me after the season. Talk to me after.
Alright. Who was Stores' crazy? It was a quarterback or a running back crazy ranking. Who was
Dan,
that?
can I say something real quick? I
Eckler,
think
McCaffrey.
check the tape and you'll see something else. Okay.
I thought I like Mike Evans. I've had him recently in fantasy football, but this year, even last year was a down year compared to 2 years ago, and he still had Tom Brady last year. I don't know, man.
Well, all my fantasy football leagues, Josh is in, so it looks like I won't be taking Mike Evans, and that's fine with me.
Damn
Where do you
right.
got? Where do you got Chris Godwin? I'm curious. Is he in your like top 25?
Not in my. Oh, he'd be right around the 20 to 30 range. I didn't rank him because he wasn't top 23 or whatever. I have a couple honorable mentions. But
I think he's the guy in that offense that actually could have a shot at being like a top 15 receiver. I think Baker's going to look at him a lot in the intermediate game, but I just feel like their offense won't be good enough to have a Mike Evans type success season.
We'll see.
Stores has had some wild
cut the
rankings
tape. Cut
in
the
all
tape.
of our episodes so far.
Let's hear your number
Um,
15, Shane.
My 15, I have Devonta Smith at 15. Eagles wide receiver 2. And even as the clear wide receiver 2, Dan, if you have this up, can you check? Did he finish as a top 12 wide receiver last year?
Yeah,
He's
he
right-
was number 10, I believe.
Yeah.
He might have been 12.
Oh wow, he finished that high.
Yes. So even as a
Wow.
number 2 wide receiver in his offense, he finished as wide
Number
receiver
9,
1.
even better.
Yeah, he finished as a wide receiver 1 last year with AJ Brown in his offense. So I actually probably have him a little low at 15.
You do have him low for sure.
I like him a lot. I didn't realize I had him. I thought he was right around 12 last year. He's got a great quarterback. He's been in the league 2 years now. 2021 rookie year, he played 17 games. Last year, he played 17 games. You can rely on this kid on your team. I like Devonta Smith.
Yeah. He's
Yeah,
always been super reliable and just so good. And I had him last year, and he got over 10 points every week. And Jalen Hurts and the offense is so dynamic. He's going to be scoring a lot this year too.
Yeah, I really like Devontae Smith, but I didn't have him in my. I don't know him as a wide receiver too. I don't know, and that losing Shane Steichen kind of scared me. I had him as my honorable mention at 21. I really wanted him. I really wanted him on my list. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Jalen Hurts producing, those same numbers again. I mean, Devontae Smith almost had 100 receptions, so I'm not like hating on his game. He was awesome. He's awesome. I don't know. There's just a gut feeling telling me not to take him in the top 20 receivers. I feel like he could have a really low floor but a super high ceiling. So I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with him yet, at least. I think I need one more prove it year.
You need 3 prove it years.
Yes. I
love Devontae this year. I had Devontae at the beginning of the year, and then I ended up trading him in a trade package for AJ Brown. And honestly, when I had AJ Brown, Devontae was more consistent, and Devontae was outscoring him some weeks, and it was just pissing me off. So I'm taking Devontae Smith closer to AJ Brown than I guess Josh is, that's for sure. So we'll talk about him a little bit later. I've got him a little bit higher, but we'll go into my number 14, and that is DJ Moore, who's coming into a new offense. I'm a little bit higher on him,
Whoa.
but I like
Wow.
DJ Moore with
All
Justin Fields.
right.
His current ADP right now, let me tell you, is 24, and I guess that's probably where you guys have him, but
feels about right. Yeah.
that's
Yep.
crazy to me. I think at ADP wide receiver 24, I think he's the biggest steal at the current moment for any receiver in any fantasy draft right now is DJ Moore at his current ADP. I mean, I think Fields will take a big step up as a passer. I think the offense will in general, and I just think DJ Moore is going to be a great fantasy option, like he always has been with questionable quarterback play. And I think Justin Fields is going to throw it to him a lot.
Yeah.
I don't like DJ Moore is still a really good wide receiver. I definitely feel like he's going to have his better fantasy years coming up with the Bears, but that's 14. That's a little rich for my blood.
Yeah, Dan, that's very rich for my blood. I really like DJ Moore. But I don't know, it's just so unproven. The offense is so scary. And I really hope I really hope Justin Fields develops as a passer and can have a true wide receiver one in that offense. But I don't know until Fields proves that. I mean, Fields is an RB1 for sure, but until he can prove that he can be a legit quarterback and throw the ball, which I think I don't hate on him. I think he definitely has room to develop this year, and I think he'll be a lot better. But yeah, I think DJ Moore, that's very rich for my blood.
Has DJ Moore had a good quarterback since he's been in the league?
No chance, unless you say Sam Darnold's good.
Okay, so no. So I guess we'll see. I mean, we'll see what Justin Fields can do.
I don't hate it by any means, but
yeah. I mean, I'm definitely high on him, and maybe I'm just emphasizing the fact that his ADP is great, and I'm stealing him at his ADP every time I can. But yeah, I just think that the Bears, and maybe I am projecting too much for him to be the wide receiver one in the Bears offense. Maybe the Bears offense will be a little bit worse than I think, but I don't know. I just think the Fields will throw more touchdowns than last year, and he'll probably run it a little bit less. And I just think DJ Moore can be a touchdown machine.
Yeah, I like that. My number 14 is going to be Mr. DK Metcalf. I'm a little higher on him than you, or one spot higher than you, Dan. But I feel pretty confident in DK producing this year. I mean, he stays healthy. He's a strong dude. And he can put up huge numbers, and he's kind of a boomer bust guy too, week to week. He's kind of a guy that'll, it's kind of, those guys are kind of, that's why they're in this, back, 11 to 20 range, is because their consistency with all these guys, whether it's health or whether it's games, they all have tremendous upside. And that's kind of how I feel about DK, is just, he's not consistent. Like, he's not going to get 100 yards every single game, but he might have a game of 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I have him here at 14. I feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about DK a little bit later. I know we've already talked about him twice, but I really like DK. I like him a lot personally. I don't know why. I guess I feel like I know a little bit why, my opinion. I feel like Jason helps DK in some sort of sense. I don't think he necessarily hurts him in any way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So my 14 guy, I have T Higgins at 14. He's sort of in the same situation as Devonta Smith. He has a clear, he's clearly the wide receiver 2 with a great quarterback, and he's still a great fantasy football wide receiver. Do you know what he finished at last year, Dan?
Higgins last year, he was a little bit low.
Yeah, he had some down games, but I mean, I'm looking at his targets: 7 targets, 9, 8, 5, 9.
Yeah,
13.
he had games where he was a real wide receiver 1. He had games where he was the wide receiver 1 for their offense, but he finishes the 19. So
yeah, so he tends to get hurt too, it seems like, but he's a great wide receiver. He's still so young. I like T Higgins.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. T Higgins is let Dan do his 13, but T Higgins is one spot higher, Shane, for me. And yeah, I agree. Everything you said, he's a consistent dude. And what Dan said, that's what was going to be a big focal point of an argument for me, was T Higgins is wide receiver 1 in that offense a lot. And I love Joe Burrow. I think him and T Higgins are both only going to improve year to year. And I think T Higgins is just a consistent 1,000 yards. And I think he might even get more touchdowns this year. I think he could be a 10+ touchdown guy. So I really like him this year. I want him on my team. I'd feel really comfortable, and I'd love him being my wide receiver too. But but yeah, I mean, he only has room to improve. If he stays healthy for a full, 18 game season, I think the sky's the limit for him. And I think Jamar Chase helps him because Jamar Chase just gets focused by the corner one, and T Higgins should be a wide receiver one, but he gets put on corner two. So it'll be exciting. It'll be exciting to see how he plays.
Yeah, you can tell Joe Burrow definitely loves him. And I agree with Shane that Devontae Smith and T. Higgins are right next to each other, and I have them right next to each other, just a lot higher. But I love T. Higgins. I'll get into him a little bit later. My number 13 is Chris Olave. Another guy that I'm exactly on ADP with. He's the wide receiver 13 ADP. And I love his outlook with Derek Carr. If Derek Carr can stay healthy and if Olave can stay healthy, I think that Olave will be their wide receiver one, their most productive player. And I think he has the chance to be a wide receiver one in fantasy as well.
Wow. I like that. I like that a lot. Chris Olave didn't make my top 20.
Yo.
It's nothing against Chris Olave. I absolutely love him. There's just guys that I like more that I think should be higher.
You are crazy, man.
Nothing against him. I do think he'll improve with Derek Carr in that offense too. But I don't know. I just don't love the Saints team this year. I don't feel like I'm going to love their offense. I'm not a bit. I think he will improve with Derek Carr, but I don't love Derek Carr. I don't think he's a great quarterback. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see Chris Olave. I think if Michael Thomas stays healthy, he takes a lot of targets from him. So
Well,
that's.
Yeah, you're not targeting the Saints at all
mean,
in fantasy, huh?
He's surely this year. This is the year that Michael Thomas is healthy, right? Surely.
Even if he is healthy, I don't know. I mean, he hasn't played in about 24 years, so I don't think he can play football anymore.
We'll see.
Josh, you're just not targeting the Saints in any fantasy leagues, right? Just any Saints at all.
I don't think there's one Saints player that I want.
Yeah.
Noted.
Yeah. So write that down. Write the Saints off. For where Chris Olave will be drafted, I don't think I want any piece of him, to be honest. It's sad though. I drafted him with like my last pick last year, and then I ended up trading him.
Dan, right? Dan, didn't you?
No, I think I traded to Fisher, but it was like for peanuts, and then I felt really bad after because he actually ended up doing good.
So he's a great wide receiver with a better quarterback.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how he does.
We'll
I just don't love the Saints this year. Don't have a good feeling about
them. Okay, Stores.
Do you want to talk my 13, who I already talked about, T. Higgins. Absolutely love him. Give me all the T. Higgins stock, not Chris Olave stock. But T. Higgins is a stud. He's going to be a stud. Get him on your teams.
Dan, you're going to get a kick out of my 13 guy. It's Chris Olave.
Oh, wow.
No
You're
way.
high on him, eh?
Yeah, I guess I'm way high on him. According to Stores. I mean, he had north of 1,000 yards as a rookie. Missed a couple games. He's got a better quarterback now. He's the clear number one guy. Behind him, it's a toss up. You got Michael Thomas if he plays. You got Rashid Shaheed. Who else?
A.T. Perry,
yeah, he's gonna be awesome. I guess Juwan Johnson he's a good tight end, but he's not gonna demand targets away from Chris Olave. So yeah, I really like Olave this year.
Yeah, I think Derek Carr is gonna have a really good connection with him. Derek Carr is just an underrated, solid quarterback. So
totally,
definitely an upgrade, a big upgrade from Andy Dalton.
I'm excited to see how this ends, these last couple picks, because I feel like our top 10s are going to be very different.
I can't wait to see you have hold on. We're gonna have
I feel like my next guy, you guys are going to freak out for some reason.
Yeah, we will, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
All right, we'll get into my number 12 then.
I'm looking at my guys. I'm like, these two are weird with their rankings. Listen to me.
Weird ones.
Chris Olave is the wide receiver 13 ADP, and you don't even have him in your top 20.
but we're the weird ones.
Look at my list. It's flawless. It's flawless.
Flawless list. I agree. Josh has got the league winning list. All right, number 12, we got Devontae Smith for me. I'm definitely high on him, or I guess not even really. He's the wide receiver 12 as well. So, but he was so good last year. Every week he was getting, it seemed like a touchdown. I think he had more touchdowns than AJ Brown, unless some of AJ Brown's spike weeks really got him over Devontae. But Devontae was just more consistent, and he was their most consistent receiver. Probably their wide receiver one when you think of just Jalen Hurts' first read is always Devontae Smith. He's always the intermediate route, and I just think Devontae Smith is just too good not to take this high. Josh is way too low on him, and I think Devontae Smith could finish higher than AJ Brown.
He could. Devontae Smith had 7 touchdowns. AJ Brown had 11, but granted, AJ Brown had a half of multiple touchdown games.
Can I change my list real quick?
No, absolutely not.
No, I want to change one thing.
No,
What?
I want to kick Debo out of the top 20.
All
no,
right. For who? For who?
no, you can.
I want to move DeAndre to 16, and I want
Okay.
to move Debo outside of the top 20, and then put Devontae Smith at 20. And I'll
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
do
Fair
that. And
enough.
I'll feel better. That's
Can't
what I
argue
want.
with that.
You guys talked me out of Debo. I don't even want him in my top 20. He just grosses me out for some reason.
So AJ Brown had a 3 touchdown game and a 2 touchdown game.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, yeah, and then but yeah, okay, there we go. That's better. He was my 21. Put him on my list. Put him on my list. Kick Debo out. I don't like Debo.
He's out.
I'm not drafting Debo.
I cannot wait to see Stores as 12 and 11.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready for my 12?
Let's hear it.
I don't
Brace
know.
yourself. Hold on to your seats. It's Jalen Waddle.
Oh, wow. That's low.
Is that low? I feel like that's like where
That was anticlimactic.
I mean, it's not too low, but he is the wide
I
receiver
just-
9 right now.
all of a sudden I felt like you guys were like having me your top 5. I feel like your lists are weird, but I'm just where he should be. And I love Jalen Waddle. He's a stud. He actually helped win me the league a couple of years ago. And but it's just Tyreek Hill. I think Jalen Waddle would be a top 5 receiver for me when Tyreek Hill's out of that offense. I just feel like Tyreek Hill demands so much attention. He just gets so many targets and he takes away so much from Jalen Waddle, even though they did both produce at a very high level. But I think Jalen Waddle, for being a wide receiver 2 on his team at 12, is comfortable for me.
Stores' rankings are strictly based off of who he had on his team last year and how they performed for him.
He was on my team 2 years ago, and he was an absolute. I would have taken Jalen Waddle a lot higher last year. I just don't know. I just don't know if I believe in Tua again this year. I mean, I know Jalen Waddle was 1,300 yards last year and 8 touchdowns. Now I'm looking at stats, just kind of blows me away. But I don't know. I don't know. I just have a feeling that he might take a little bit of a step back this year. And then once he gets that focal wide receiver 1, he's going to be top 5 for me all day long. I mean, I want him on my team. Don't get me wrong. I would love to have Jalen Waddle, but at ADP 12 is where I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
I think you muted yourself, Dan.
Yeah, Dan, you're muted.
I don't think that's that bad. His ADP is 11 right now, and I know you're lower on Tua, so I don't think that's too bad. I think that's a fine spot.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I'm glad I got you guys' approval on that.
I mean, I have Jalen Waddle at 11, so.
Okay, so we're all on the same page. I was just, for some reason, I also started thinking, like, what do these guys have at like 5? I feel like that'd be crazy.
My number 12 guy, we've already talked about him, but it's DK. Only thing I'll add is the reason I like JSN is I feel like it'll cause teams to not be able to double team DK, and that'll just, I mean, the more one-on-ones DK has, give me that all day long.
Oh yeah, for one-on-one opportunities down the field, absolutely love it, and that's where DK thrives, is getting like an 80-yard touchdown every game. So yeah, with teams having to focus on Tyler Lockett and JSN, I think they're that team's, they're a nightmare. They're a nightmare for cornerbacks that have to face them. I mean, you got to have like 3 CB1s against the Seahawks.
Yep.
Yeah, you did bring up a good point. DK Metcalf's got to be the hardest receiver just to cover one-on-one in the NFL, so I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
My number 11, the last receiver I'll be talking about on my list, is T. Higgins. I've got him just one spot ahead of Devontae Smith. Like I said, I think they're in the same tier in similar situations. I think T's upside's a little bit bigger because he has weeks where he just can take off and get 30 points and multiple touchdowns, and that Bengals offense is ridiculously electric, and Burrow just trusts Higgins and Chase with deep go balls, and I mean, they're fun, and I think T. Higgins is going to be really solid this year. I hope he stays a little bit more healthy, and I mean, sounds stupid, but he switches number to 5, and I feel like looking good out there. I think he's going to be better.
That's big. I forgot about that. Okay, all right. Right in maybe top 10 now. Number 5, that's huge.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. So
was that his college number?
I think so. Yeah.
That's actually a big difference maker right there.
Kind of. I don't know. That's kind of an ugly wide receiver number. I don't know why.
What? That's freaking dope.
Isn't Drake London number 5, or what's Drake London?
I think it's 5. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's ugly.
All right. Well, I'll get into my number 11. I'm curious to see where you guys have him ranked, but it's going to be Mr. Amon-Ra St. Brown. And
This was so disappointing. I thought you were gonna have like Deontay Johnson or some terrible, awful random person at 12 and 11.
no, come on. I'm not. My rankings here are going to be probably pretty similar to your guys's, besides a couple. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, this guy from coming into league is a reception machine. Mr. Ben Johnson is one of my favorite offensive coordinators, and I think he's just going to be an absolute guru dialing up routes to Amon-Ra. So I mean, it's so exciting. I mean, he was 106 catches last year, 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns. I feel like that's just a healthy mix of all stats, for PPR. Good in receptions, good on yards. I think he definitely has room to improve his touchdowns, which I think he will. And did he miss any games last year? I can't remember.
Oh yeah,
Oh, he did. Okay,
got hurt, but he may have played. He may have. I remember he got pretty hurt, and then
his stats don't look like he missed any games, but he might have.
He finished as the wide receiver 7, and he missed 1 game.
Oh, okay. No, that's a healthy it's a healthy mix right there, and only 1 game missed. And then there's season before he's still a stud, and I think he missed more games that season. But I don't know. I love that Lions offense. They're going to be super high powered. I feel good leaving off on Amon-Ra for my last guy talking about, but he excites me a lot. I want him on my team. I feel like he's just a pretty safe bet. I feel like he's got a really safe floor, and he's going into his 3rd year, and I think he's only just going to improve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
I'll talk about him next episode because I have him top 10, so I'll talk about him in Thursday's episode. But I think that he's gonna take a step up because at the end of the year last year, he didn't get any touchdowns at all. And the beginning of the year, if you guys remember, he was like the #1 receiver, getting multiple touchdowns, 40-point games. So I just think Amon-Ra is gonna, unless they bring in Hopkins, which is a real possibility. I did want to say that. That's the one thing that would move him out of the top 10 for me. But I think Amon-Ra is going to be really, really good in fantasy. I have him really high on my list.
I also have Amon-Ra in my top 10. Okay, so to finish it out, my number 11 guy, Stores just talked about him. It's Jalen Waddle. He's just a great wide receiver. He doesn't matter where he catches the ball, he could take it and go and house it. So even though Tua, I think Tua's fine. Doesn't necessarily scare me away from him. I want all the Jalen Waddle I could get, even though that may be a little hard in our league.
I just want my fantasy name to be Waddle Waddle, and then put a little penguin.
Yeah, that's really creative.
So that's a big reason I want Jalen Waddle on my fantasy team.
The swag factor.
Yep.
The waffle waddle, and then just to be able to do the waddle every time he scores. So that's huge for me. That's huge.
Yeah, no, Jalen Waddle's electric, and I have him in I'll have him in Thursday's episode as well. He's in my top 10. And I mean, we saw how much the Dolphins threw to him and Tyreek Hill last year. Their offense runs through them, just throwing slants to them every play. So I love it a lot. And I think Waddle will outproduce Tyreek Hill some weeks. I mean, he did last year. There's some weeks where he's targeted more, but it does suck having Tyreek Hill on his team because he does suck up a lot of targets. They throw to Tyreek Hill a lot. So
yeah,
I get why you guys are both a little bit lower on it.
So if I'm judging, I think Danny was the most bold on this list.
Wait, are you counting yourself out? Or are you just?
I think Shane. I think you have the safest list. I think Dan has the most bold. I mean, we're talking Jerry Jeudy, Christian Watson, DJ Moore, all in the top 20. I don't know. Questionable.
What would you call your list? If I'm the safest, Danny's the most bold. What would you call your list?
Mine's just the sexy list. It's just
I thought, yeah.
It's just thinking like a guru. That's all it is. It's the guru list.
Can't argue with that. No, that was really fun. That was fun seeing all the different names. I knew that there would be a lot of there'd be more than 20 receivers mentioned in this episode. So I love it. I love all the differences that we had, and I'm excited to see our top 10. I feel like that'll be a big one. And receivers are being drafted really high this year in fantasy. A lot of you guys' first rounds are going to be filled up with receivers this year. So definitely stay tuned for Thursday's episode as well.
Yes, sir. We'll be getting into 10 through 1. It's going to be fun. I'm excited. This was a fun episode. Receivers are all over the board. I wish we could have done 30, but I don't think people would even care about the 30 through 20. But this is fun. We'll see the top 10. I'm excited.
Yep.
All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll have our top 10 wide receiver episode on Thursday. So check it out. Check out the NFL Seekers on all platforms. But thank you guys. Have a good one.
Peace.